Hi, and thank you for joining us. I'm Stacey Pogue with Every Texan, joined by Melissa McChesney. We're both senior policy analysts at Every Texan. We both work on healthcare, and we are going to go over how you can get health insurance now, especially if you've just lost a job. About 3 million Texans have filed for unemployment since mid-March. And since job-based insurance is such an important part of our patchwork system, a lot of people right now are probably losing both their jobs and losing their access to their health insurance. And again, because we've got this patchwork system, there's all these gaps between trying to move from job-based insurance to Medicaid or CHIP or the marketplace or Medicare or your spouse's plan. There's lots of different options, and people are only eligible for some, and some have short time windows to enroll. So to help you through it, Melissa and I are going to tell you what options are if you've just lost your job and your job-based insurance. And we also have a blog post that with a written guide with all of these details we're saying and more available on our blog. You can click through from our blog to the guide, and the guide is available in both English and Spanish. So if you get lost in anything we're saying or you need more detail, it's all written down at the link that is on the screen right now. So to start with, I'm going to hand it off for Melissa to tell us how we can get kids covered.
Great, thanks, Stacey. So as Stacey mentioned, a lot of people may be going through a decrease in their employment. Either they've lost their job altogether or they've had a significant reduction in their income. And as a result, many of their children may now be newly eligible for health insurance through the Texas Medicaid program or the Texas Children's Health Insurance Program. So these programs cover kids all the way up through age 18 and are based on income. So I want to quickly share with you what those income cutoffs look like so that you have a sense of whether or not your family might be eligible for that coverage for your kids. So as you can see, these are monthly income amounts, and this is the top income range. So if you had an income close to this, your kids would likely be eligible for CHIP, but anything below this would be either CHIP or Medicaid for kids. And if you need to apply for that coverage, you can go to yourtexasbenefits.com and hit apply. If you're not comfortable applying online, you can also apply by calling 211. You'll choose the language you prefer and then hit option 2. And option 2 will take you to the Texas Health and Human Service Commission, who can help you fill out an application and get your kids enrolled over the phone. So the next thing we're going to talk about is coverage for adults. So Stacey, you want to tell them about their options for the adults in the family?
Yeah, so what we recommend is if you've just lost your job and your job-based health insurance with it, the first place to look for other coverage is at healthcare.gov. That's the health insurance marketplace. And the reason we recommend that first is because there is financial help available in the marketplace, and people who've just lost jobs and lost a lot of income, this is a place you can go to get comprehensive coverage, but that's available with discounts, with premium discounts if you qualify based on your income. And most other coverage options don't have that kind of help to make the premiums affordable based on your income. So we recommend you start at healthcare.gov. We also recommend that when you're looking for it, you type in the website healthcare.gov instead of using a Google search or some sort of search engine, because there's sites that look like healthcare.gov and come up from a search for healthcare.gov that aren't actually healthcare.gov. So type it in, go straight to that address. Generally, if you get marketplace insurance, there's only a little window when you can buy it for the year in the fall called open enrollment. Generally, then you're kind of shut out until the next open enrollment. But if you've just lost your job-based insurance or lost any kind of coverage, you get a special enrollment window. It's a 60-day window following the date you lost your other coverage, your job-based coverage. In that 60-day window, you can go into healthcare.gov, even though it's closed to most people, and buy coverage. So we recommend you check there first because of the sliding scale nature of the premiums, and that you do it quickly. Often right after a job loss, people are thinking of other things first, food, how to get food on the table, how to replace income. But that 60-day window means it's important to think about coverage relatively quickly as well. The marketplace may ask you for proof of loss of your job. And in our blog post or our written guide, we have more information about how you can verify and prove to the marketplace if you're asked for verification, loss of job, especially if your employer actually just went out of business and it's hard to get documentation from them. We've offered some help in that document. We've also in that document included a table of what the income ranges are based on your family size. Again, for those premium subsidies to lower your monthly cost. And there's even subsidies available to lower your deductibles and your other out-of-pocket costs. It again depends on your income. And so please go back to our blog, find the guide in either in English or Spanish, and look at those income ranges to see if you'll be able to get help. And I think it's worth noting that most people do. 9 out of 10 Texans who buy marketplace coverage get that financial help. It's critical to connecting people to coverage. And I think, the other thing to mention in this space is Cobra. So if you've just lost your job-based insurance, you'll also get an offer from your employer, a letter from your insurance company or your employer about the ability to continue your job-based coverage through something called Cobra generally. Sometimes it's called state continuation if you worked for a small employer. And that's the ability to maintain the coverage you have today through your job, but you have to pay the full premium. And for most people, that's out of reach, especially if you've just lost a job. But there are some people who, because they're in the middle of treatment for cancer or for some other condition, or have something ongoing where they need to maintain their exact coverage and their exact sources of care, and changing right now would be problematic. Cobra is certainly an option available to people just losing jobs, but we'd hate for somebody to think that if they can't afford their Cobra, that means they have to go uninsured, because marketplace coverage for almost all enrollees is much cheaper than Cobra coverage. Also, if you're married, you might be able to get on your spouse's job-based plan, or if you have a parent and you're under age 26 and your parent, you can get back on your parent's job-based plan too. And usually you can only go into those at open enrollment. But again, if you've just lost your other coverage, you qualify for a special enrollment into those other coverages as well. I'm going to hand it back to Melissa to talk about what to do if you're in the marketplace now and your income's dropped.
Great. So to give folks a sense of the income ranges that are available, in the income ranges where you would get some sort of help from the marketplace, I'm going to pull up that table again. So if you already are enrolled in marketplace insurance, and you have a reduction in annual income that puts you below the poverty line. So again, that's shown in the low end of the range in the table above. So for example, below $12,490 per year for a single person, or $21,330 per year for a family of 3. So if your reduction income puts you below those amounts, you will lose eligibility for premium subsidies on the marketplace. However, a person who remains in their marketplace plan with a subsidy despite having income that falls below their poverty line will not have to repay those subsidies when they reconcile on their taxes next year. There is a federal safe harbor provision for that. Also, people who are enrolled in marketplace coverage who may have a reduction in their income, but their income is still above the poverty line, so you're still within the ranges where you would be eligible for subsidies. If you report that lower income to the marketplace, it could increase the financial help that you're getting every month, or potentially even make you newly eligible for additional financial help known as cost sharing reduction. So that might reduce the cost sharing that you have to do out of pocket if you seek care. But you definitely don't want to underestimate your annual income, because you may need to pay some of that back on your taxes next year if you don't quite get that estimate correct. But that's how it always works in the ACA marketplace. You do a projection of your income, and then you get subsidies based on that projection. And then when you file your taxes, it reconciles that at the end of the year. So that is talks a little bit about what happens if you have marketplace coverage currently. But I'd like to also turn it back to Stacy to talk a little bit about help if you're unable to pay your premiums for a given month.
Right. So lots of people, of course, are struggling to pay for food, rent, you name it. And health insurance is another item that's very difficult to afford if you've lost your job or lost a lot of income. The marketplace coverage, if you get a subsidy in the marketplace, has a 3-month grace period as part of the coverage. And the way that works is if you can't make your premium payment or you can't make your full payment in any month, you get a 3-month period over which you can fully catch up with premium payments to maintain continuous coverage. If you can't, by the end of the 3rd month, catch up with those 3 months of payments, your coverage will be canceled back to the end of the 1st month. So you still get that coverage for that 1st month in your grace period, but you won't have coverage for the final 2 months. Both the federal agency that oversees the health insurance marketplace and our state insurance regulatory agency have encouraged insurers to offer additional flexibility above this existing 3-month timeline grace period. So what we do, we recommend that you call your insurer. If you think you can't make your payment or your full payment for next month or any month, call your insurance company and you get out your insurance ID card and find the toll-free number on the back and call customer service and tell them about the situation you find yourself in and ask them how to best maneuver. If it's possible, you might even be able to stay out of that 3-month grace period that again has some pretty strict deadlines in it to catch up by making some partial payment or working with your insurer on the front end. So call your insurer, ask about any flexibility, and make sure you get all the information about that 3-month timeline or grace period, because if it's just a temporary glitch and you might be able to catch up next month or the month after, you'll be able to maintain coverage. And then I think it's obvious already at this point in this video that this stuff, getting health insurance and keeping health insurance is pretty difficult, but there's help, and Melissa can tell you how to find it.
Great. Yeah. So in your local community, there is free assistance. They're called either navigators or certified application counselors. And these are trained and certified people who work for community-based organizations all across the state. And they have experience in helping people enroll in the marketplace, in Medicaid, or in the Children's Health Insurance Program. And they're required to provide fair, impartial, and accurate information to you without charging you. So if you're interested in finding someone to help you do that in your local community, I'm going to share my screen here once again and show you how to use healthcare.gov to find an assister. So here's the healthcare.gov main page. And down here, there's a button that's called Find Local Help. If you hit search now, you put in your zip code and hit search. Now the default for this search tool will also show agents and brokers. Again, if you'd like to focus in on getting that assistance, that free assistance from community-based organizations, we recommend filtering out the agents and brokers and just looking at these assisters. So these are all assistance organizations that provide enrollment assistance for the marketplace and Medicaid and CHIP in the Austin area, since I put in Austin zip code, but it would work for any zip code that you put in. And if you go to our guide, there's also a link to a blog post that will list some good websites and resources by region of Texas if you're interested in looking for some additional resources. So I'm going to turn it. Do I turn it back to you, Stacy?
No, it's a surprise. You get to keep
Oh,
going.
it's me.
About
That's right. I'm going to keep
new
going.
sources of income.
Great. So one other piece that we included in the guide, because it is new and a lot of people aren't exactly sure how it will or won't impact their eligibility for these programs that we're discussing, is that there are some different types of income that may be coming into your home that are new to you. So one of those is unemployment. So in general, unemployment is counted for most benefit programs. So your base unemployment is. However, many of you might notice if you're on unemployment right now that you're getting an extra $600 per week in unemployment dollars. That was something that was included by Congress in direct response to the pandemic. So that extra $600, that is not included if you're applying for Medicaid or CHIP for yourself or your kids. So it won't be included as income for Medicaid and CHIP. It is included as income for a marketplace application. So I know that's a little bit wonky, so give me 1 second and I'll sort of show you what our guide looks like as we talk about this. So again, the unemployment extra $600 per week, not included for Medicaid and CHIP. It would be included for ACA marketplace subsidies. As is noted on this slide, the current UI increase, that extra $600 a month, is set to expire at the end of July. We won't know if Congress plans to or will extend any additional unemployment insurance beyond this July expiration, but we do plan to provide an update once we find out if any new additional unemployment is approved by Congress, and if it is approved, how it does or doesn't count for these given programs. So this is what we know right now. In a few weeks, we'll provide updates on what happened with unemployment insurance. And again, it's just that extra that's not included. The base UI is counted for all programs. The other type of income that may be new to you and your family is that you got a stimulus check based on your income from the IRS. Stimulus checks are considered tax rebates and therefore are never included in income-based government programs. So it's not counted for Medicaid and CHIP, and it's not counted for the ACA marketplace. So when you're going to apply for those programs, don't, especially on the marketplace, don't put in the stimulus check as part of your income. It's not included. All right. Stacey, did you want to talk a little bit more about if you lost your job but you didn't actually have insurance?
Yeah, so the last scenario we're going to go over today is people looking for insurance now, but they didn't just lose their job-based insurance. So a lot of people in Texas and across the nation have lost their jobs, but they never had health insurance coverage to begin with. And it looks like the research is showing that those are some of the jobs people lost first in this, severe economic downturn, are the types of jobs, whether say it's being a waiter or a home health aide or daycare worker, people who didn't have health insurance to begin with through their jobs. And that actually, frankly, just gets a lot trickier. So again, the health insurance marketplace is open every year at a 6-week period to sign up, called open enrollment. It will start on November 1st. And during that period, it doesn't matter if you just lost a job, if you just got married, you can just get health insurance for the following year. But right now you have to fit in a kind of a narrow, you have to have some narrow eligibility criteria. You have to have a qualifying event that gives you a special enrollment period. Losing job-based insurance isn't the only one, though. So in our guide, we went through a couple others that could be relevant right now and linked to the page on healthcare.gov where you can see all of them. But some of the ones that might be relevant are just big life changes. So if you got married, if you had a baby, if you've moved counties, and a lot of people have, as colleges have closed down, and people have been working remotely, a lot of people have moved. So those kinds of life changes could qualify you for a special enrollment period. So it's worth checking out if you need coverage now, whether you qualify for an existing special enrollment period that lets you get marketplace coverage now. And there's another one we pointed out that's a lesser known special enrollment period qualification, but could be relevant for lots of people. And it's moving up when your income moves above the poverty line. So if you're an adult and your income's below the poverty line, you don't qualify for subsidies in the marketplace. You're in what we call the coverage gap in Texas. Because our state hasn't expanded Medicaid, which would make coverage available to adults who work full time but still have income below or near the poverty line, it'd be a coverage solution for those adults. But Texas is one of the few remaining states that hasn't acted on that really vital opportunity. We have adults that are just shut out of affordable coverage if their income's below the poverty line. But once your income moves above the poverty line, you get a new special enrollment period for the marketplace. And it could be that a number of people who were working but then lost their jobs and have no income for a period, possibly while they're waiting for unemployment, since that processing is taking a long time. If you don't have income for a while and then later get unemployment, your income can move above the poverty line. And when it does, you have a special enrollment period into the marketplace. Now, again, this special enrollment period has historically probably been used less often than getting married or moving, and might not be one a lot of people have expertise in. So we recommend finding a local community-based enrollment assistant, and Melissa told you the steps to do that, because they will know how to do this. There's some specific things you'll need to do to call the marketplace and know what to say. And we've included some of that in the guide, but again, we recommend that you get that knowledgeable, certified, community-based assistance to see if you're eligible for this special enrollment period. And then I'm just going to point out where the existing gaps in coverage is that, of course, people who lost a job but never had insurance to begin with, or are still working full time but in a job that doesn't have coverage. A lot of those folks are just shut out right now because the Trump administration hasn't opened back up the marketplace, nor has Congress told the marketplace to reopen. I think it's worth pointing out, after Hurricane Harvey and after other disasters, it's been pretty standard practice to reopen the marketplace. So everybody who's looking for coverage in a disaster or a pandemic could come in and get coverage without having to jump through a lot of hoops or fit a narrow qualification. That has not happened. It could happen. The Trump administration could choose to reopen the marketplace, and we've certainly advocated, and lots of people have for that. And Congress could require it in their next COVID package. And so we're hopeful and advocating for broader access to the marketplace. But that may or may not happen. It might be that we don't have open enrollment to November. And if that's true, we just have a buyer beware for some other things you might see if you don't fit into a special enrollment period. You may see marketing for coverage that's available right now with next day coverage that you could get probably for a relatively low price. But we want to warn you that coverage might not meet your needs, depending on your needs. So there's coverage available now that's called, goes by a lot of different names, but it's usually bare bones coverage, short-term plans, indemnity-only plans, health sharing ministries. Again, lots of different names for coverage you get somewhere besides healthcare.gov. And the thing to know is they generally have limited benefits. It might not have prescription drugs. It might not have mental health coverage. It might not have maternity, or it might have really low caps. It'll pay out, a few $1,000s and then it stops, or $10,000 and it stops. So these kinds of coverage are very different than the comprehensive coverage you'll get in the marketplace. Those types of coverage can also turn you down if you've got a pre-existing condition, if you've got any healthcare condition in your record, your medical record, or they can charge you more. And they might leave you with mountains of medical bills if you get seriously sick or injured. So again, we warn people to know what they're looking at. If they're looking at coverage outside of the marketplace that's available right now with next day coverage, it might not be what you think it is. So look close. And of course, then outside of that kind of skimpy but legal coverage, there's scams, as there are in any big disruption and any big disaster. There's scams including coronavirus insurance. So also watch out for scams. And the best way to do that, the easiest way to do that, to make sure you're getting comprehensive coverage that covers pre-existing conditions and isn't a scam, again, is to start at healthcare.gov, that website, or start at Your Texas Benefits, the websites that are known and trusted with good coverage. And I hope we walked through lots of scenarios that are helpful today to help you find coverage. Again, sometimes it's tricky, and there's not a coverage option for everybody in Texas right now, but hopefully there are for many of you who are looking for coverage, especially if you've just lost a job. We recommend that you go to our guide. Again, it's all of the information we've given and some more details are available in writing, both in English and in Spanish at that document. And as information changes, we'll make sure to update it on our blog at the Every Texan website, so you can stay up to date. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.